everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to dive into some science that's hiding in plain sight. We're going on this awesome summer adventure to see how a simple thing, separating stuff, is actually a huge deal everywhere, from the farm to your kitchen.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How many times have you separated something today? Like, without even thinking about it? Seriously. You probably did it a bunch of times before you even had breakfast. It's just part of how we live. You know, things like picking the mushrooms off your pizza, straining pasta in the sink, getting those tiny stones out of rice before you cook it. Heck, even using a magnet to find a lost earring that fell on the carpet. These aren't just random chores, you guys. This is actual science happening right in front of us. So, to really get this, let's follow two kids, a brother and sister named Molly and Volley. They're on a big summer trip across India to see their family. And, well, they're about to become scientists without even trying. Yup. What starts out as just a regular summer vacation, it turns into this amazing scientific journey. We're going to see through their eyes just how much science is packed into normal, everyday stuff. Okay, first stop, we're headed to the state of Haryana. Picture these huge open fields, and this is where it all kicks off for Molly and Volley, right there in their grandma's courtyard. So they get there, and what do they see? Their whole family is sitting around these big piles of grain, carefully picking out little stones and things. Of course, the kids are super curious, and their nanny, their grandma, tells them, "We're cleaning it up so it's safe to cook." And just like that, we've got our first method, hand picking. It's exactly what it sounds like, right? The most basic way to separate stuff. If you can see the difference, one thing is bigger or a different color or shape, you just pick it out. Simple as that. And it's funny because later at lunch, Volley sees her brother Molly doing the exact same thing. He's picking all the black peppercorns out of his rice. She points it out, and she's totally right. It's the same idea, just at the dinner table instead of in the courtyard. Then they head out to the fields, and wow, things get a lot more intense. They see farmers taking these huge bundles of wheat stalks and just, bam, beating them hard against a wooden log. The kids are like, "Whoa, what is happening?" Their uncle comes over and explains it's called threshing. It's a really effective way to literally knock the grains off the stalks. You gotta do it. It's a super important part of the harvest. Okay, so threshing works, but it creates a new problem. Now you have a pile of heavy grain mixed with all this light, papery husk. You can't handpick that, it would take forever. So what do they do now? The answer is winnowing. It's so cool. The kids watch this farmer climb up on a platform, and he holds a tray with the grain and husk mix. He just gently shakes it, and the wind does all the work. The light husk gets blown away into one pile, and the heavy grains just fall straight down into a separate clean pile. It's so simple, but it's absolutely brilliant. All right, their trip isn't over. Next, they're off to Ahmedabad, and this time the science adventure moves from the farm straight into the kitchen. So Valley is helping her aunt make a snack. But her aunt says, "Hold on, to get it just right, we have to get this coarse bran out of the fine flour." How would you do that? With a sieve, of course. This is sieving. It's all about size. The really fine flour just falls right through the little holes in the mesh, but the bigger, clunkier bran gets caught. Easy peasy. While they're still in Ahmedabad, their trip gets a little bit of a history lesson. They visit the Sabarmati Ashram, which is famous for the Dandi March. And that gets them thinking, where does salt even come from? Well, it comes from the sea. And this leads them to our next method, evaporation. You take seawater, which is just salty water, right? And you put it in these shallow pools. Then you just let the sun and the wind do their thing. The water turns into vapor and just floats away, leaving all the solid salt crystals behind. Pretty cool. Okay, from the west coast, Molly and Volley head way down south to Puducherry to see their dada, their grandfather. And believe it or not, even a simple cup of tea is about to become a science lesson. So their grandfather shows them a way to get the tea leaves out without even using a strainer. He says, first, you just let the pot sit for a minute, the heavy leaves sink to the bottom. That part is called sedimentation. Then you just carefully pour the tea from the top. That's called decantation. He does admit, though, you might still get a few sneaky leaves in your cup with this method. Which, of course, brings us to a better way. Filtration. That's what a tea strainer does. It's a filter. The liquid tea goes right through the holes, but the solid tea leaves get trapped. It's way more effective for getting that perfect, leaf-free cup of tea.
We're on the last leg of their journey now, 2 final stops in Bhopal and Shillong, and they're about to discover 2 more really interesting ways to separate things.
First, in Bhopal, they see someone making buttermilk. They're just shaking up curd like crazy, that's called churning, and it makes the lighter, solid butter separate and float right to the top. Then, in Shillong, a carpenter accidentally spills iron nails all over a pile of sawdust. Uh-oh, but the kids have an idea. Use a magnet, and that's magnetic separation. The magnet grabs the iron nails but leaves the sawdust behind. So clever.
Wow, what a trip, right? From a farm all the way in Haryana to a workshop in Shillong, Molly and Volley basically showed us that this science of separation is, well, it's everywhere. Let's do a super quick review of everything they learned. So the big takeaway here is that you use the right tool for the job. You use hand picking when you can see what you're picking out. Winnowing is for when one thing's light and the other's heavy. Sieving is for when things are different sizes. Evaporation gets a solid out of a liquid it's dissolved in. Filtration gets a solid out of a liquid it's not dissolved in. And magnetic separation, well, that one's pretty obvious. It's for magnetic stuff.
So Mally and Volley's amazing science adventure is over, but yours is really just getting started. As you go about your day today, just keep your eyes peeled. I promise you, from your own kitchen to a construction site you pass on the street, you're going to see the science of separation happening all around you. So my question to you is, what method are you going to notice first?